Hello, this is Giga. Welcome to our first Behind the Maps for Mio and Texas. Behind the Maps will be a series of videos that present to you a particular setup at the start of a scenario for one of our bookmarks. Before beginning, I would like to apologize for the poor accent, especially in pronouncing Scandinavian names. For our first Behind the Maps, we will be dealing with the situation in Sweden in 1356. Scandinavia is split into three kingdoms: Denmark, Norway, and Sweden. Denmark is composed of the Jutland Peninsula, plus the islands and the Scania area in southern Sweden. Norway is on the western coast of the Scandinavia Peninsula, but also owns several islands, including Iceland. At the end of the Middle Ages, Sweden has expanded into Finland following the Second Swedish Crusade. The first union between Sweden and Norway occurred in 1319. Magnus Eriksson was born in Norway in 1316. In 1319, he was both elected King of Sweden and acclaimed hereditary King of Norway. Under the regencies of his grandmother Elvig of Holstein and his mother Ingeborg of Norway, the countries were ruled by the Knut Johnson and Erling Vidkundson. He was declared of age in 1331. This provoked a resistance in Norway, especially because the statute stated that he could be king only at the age of 20, but the rebels submitted to Magnus in 1333. In 1332, King Magnus took advantage of his neighbor Christopher II of Denmark's distress and redeemed a pawn for huge amounts of silver and became ruler of Scotland. Opposition to Magnus's rule in Norway led to a settlement between the king and the Norwegian nobility in 1343. His son Hakon would become King of Norway with Magnus as regent during his minority, which would last until 1355. His son Erik didn't have any place in the Swedish court. Because of the raise of taxation paid for the acquisition of the Scanian province, some Swedish nobles, supported by the church, tried to oust Magnus and asked his elder son Erik to lead the revolt. In 1357, the rebellion forced Magnus to share the throne of Sweden with his son, who continued to rule over most of southern Sweden and Finland. In 1359, Sweden was reunited when father and son were really reconciled and co-ruled Sweden. This co-rule didn't last long, as Erik died late 1359. During his agony, Erik accused his mother Blanche of Namur for poisoning him, but historians now think that he, his wife Beatrice and their sons died of the Black Death of the plague. This is why, in Mio and Texas in 1356, there are two Swedens on the map. Sweden, ruled by Magnus Eriksson, and Sverige, ruled by Erik Magnusson. Playing either of the two nations, your goal is obviously to vanquish the other. In order to do that, you will need to control provinces. You will end up getting the ownership of those provinces out of peace deal through the war dynamism feature. When you have gotten enough provinces, you can settle for any peace deal, including a white peace. Then an event will fire, giving you the victory. As Sweden, you will automatically inherit Sverige, and if you play Sverige, you will inherit Sweden and then become Sweden. Before ending this video, let's make a little detour towards Scotland. As I mentioned previously, Magnus Eriksson took control of Scotland, taking advantage of the poor situation of Denmark in early 14th century under the rule of Christian II. 1356, under the rule of King Valdemar of Denmark, the situation of the kingdom has vastly improved, prompting Valdemar to reunite the kingdom. Given his dire situation, Magnus Eriksson tried to buy the help of Valdemar against his son Eric by offering to give him back Scotland if he helps him during the Civil War. Therefore, if you play Sweden, when the war ends, you will get an event asking you if you want to abide by the treaty and give Scotland back to Denmark. Historically, Magnus tried to renege on the treaty, and Valdemar took advantage of a weakening of the position of Magnus in 1360 to grab Scotland back. Scotland will remain in the Kingdom of Denmark until 1658. So this was a little presentation of Sweden in 1356 and why we have two Swedish nations on the map in Mio and Texas. You have Sweden with Magnus Eriksson on the throne fighting his son Erik Magnusson in Sverige. When playing one of the Swedish nations, your goal is obviously to defeat your contender and unite Sweden, while remaining strong in order not to give Scotland back to Denmark. Well, that's all, folks. I hope this has clarified why we have set up a two-nation Sweden in Mio and Texas in 1356. If you have any remarks or suggestions, please feel free to comment this video. And see you soon for a new episode of Behind the Maps in Mio and Texas.